Hey there, welcome in. My name is Avril, and here in this corner of the internet, we chat about writing, life, and whatever else comes to mind. This is actually the first official video that I'm filming for the channel, so bear with me, I have no idea what I'm doing. Today, I am participating in a long-standing tradition with the AuthorTube Newbie Tag. If you're not already in the know, the AuthorTube Newbie Tag is kind of like an icebreaker activity. It is a list of questions about my writing and what I'm working on, and just a way for me to introduce myself to the community. And if you happen to catch me glancing over this way, that is largely because I am just pulling up the questions on my monitor here, and also because I am not used to looking at a camera. So without further ado, let's get into it. How did you find out about AuthorTube? I have been watching AuthorTube content since I was in college. I think it was probably either the tail end of sophomore year or somewhere in junior year that I found Jenna Moreci, Alexa Dunn, and iWriterly. And then somewhere along the line, I ended up finding Abby Emmons, Julian Greystoke, SBU English Club, and a lot of other bookish and writing creators that I've been enjoying lately. And I'm sure there are so many that I am neglecting to mention. But long story short, I have been here for a long time, and I've mostly been just kind of hanging out in the shadows, lurking in the comments, but not really putting myself out there. So I've been here a while. All right, moving on to number 2. What genres do you write? So I write romance, and specifically I write Regency era romance. So think Bridgerton, Pride and Prejudice, that time period. What is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? So I typically prefer to write in the third person and past tense. It always feels better for my historical projects. And then category refers to the age bracket of your ideal reader. For me, that would be adult. I feel like a lot of the time I lean between new adult and adult, but I'm going to say adult. Are you a plotter, pantser, or plantser? For a little context, a plotter or a planner is a writer who goes in with a pretty detailed outline, and they follow that outline pretty close to a T. A pantser tends to go in more or less blind and just chasing the vibes, writing by the seat of their pants. And then a plantser is in the middle, so a little bit of both. And that is also kind of where I fall, although I think I'm leaning more and more toward pantser as I've been working on my current project. I've been trying to fit myself into the plotter box for a long time, but it just doesn't work for me, and that is okay. And I think for the past year or so, especially, I've been learning to embrace the pantsing aspect of myself and learning to not be so stressed out over outlines. Are you self-published, traditionally published, or yet to be published? And as of right now, I am not yet published. That is the eventual goal, but I don't really have anything right now that feels ready to publish. I'm still drafting one project. I have another project that's kind of on the shelf for now that I would love to publish, but it needs a lot more work than I can properly give it at this time. What publishing company, literary agent, or printing company are you represented by or use? And if you're not published yet, what is your dream publishing house or literary agent? Now, here's the thing. I want to traditionally publish, but I do not have a dream publisher or a dream agent in mind. There are people that I would love to work with and agents that I follow on social media, but the thing is, the publishing landscape is always changing. Prime example, Harlequin is actually shuttering their historical romance imprints by September of 2027. And as far as agents go, it may be that an agent I want to query right now may not be open to submissions when I'm ready, or they may no longer be representing romance, or they may no longer be in the industry at all. So I like to hold the belief that maybe my agent isn't in the industry yet. Hey, editing Avril here, I guess. And when I was reading off the prompt for this next one, it got corrupted. But question number 7 is, what kind of videos can we expect to find on your channel? I see this channel as kind of an extension of the blog that I've had since 2018, which I refer to as writing, life, and whatever else comes to mind. A lot of that will include things like writing tips and things that I've learned along the way. And one thing that I do want to note about that is that I am not here to tell you how to write your book, because I know that the things that work for me may not work for you, just as some of the things that work for you may not work for me. And there is nothing wrong with that. And then beyond that, maybe the occasional writing vlog or live stream if I can swing it, maybe the occasional book review. We'll just kind of see where it goes. When did you begin writing? Now, it depends on who you ask, because if you ask my first and third grade teacher, hi, Miss Shannon, she would tell you that I've been writing pretty much forever. In terms of historical romance specifically, that would have been freshman year of high school, so probably about 14. And it kind of existed in this void of before electricity, good enough, but fast forward a few years to when my senior English class was doing Pride and Prejudice, and I just fell in love with the Regency. The first story you ever wrote. In terms of romance, that would have been Guises to Keep. Now, very long story short, it was basically Regency era Downton Abbey. So you had the downstairs where you had the maid, the stable hand, and all these other servant characters. And then you also had the upstairs where you had members of the family residing at this country manor house. And you've had all these intertwined love triangles and inheritance qualms over who got the estate and all these little things. It was very long. It was very not good. All these other things that I admittedly was not handling well enough, for being honest. A lot of nuances, and I was trying to do like a lot of big things with this book without really understanding those big things. Now, I do have a lot of love for this project, and I can appreciate the role it played in my writing so far, but it is never going to see the light of day because it needs a lot of work and it needs a lot of editing. And there's also just a lot wrong with it. Let's just say that I feel the only way I could really move forward with it is if I took my coworker's idea of reworking it into a dark romance. At least right now, the love interests are kind of toxic, honestly. You could definitely tell that I was writing it as a teenager in the 2010s. What authors have inspired your writing the most? As a shock to absolutely no one, Jane Austen. I really just admire her wit and her ability to really explore all these nuances in her writing. Tessa Dare would be another one. I remember reading a lot from her when I first started writing romance and really just exploring the genre. Sarah Adams I've been really enjoying as well. I feel like I love her writing style so much. I read the cheat sheet from her last year, absolutely loved it. It was my favorite read from last year. And I feel like her writing style is so fun and I love the feel of it. And then Julia Seals feels like another one for me. I just started reading A Most Agreeable Murder, and it is actually my first book from her that I'm reading. But the narration in it is so fun and has that little bit of sarcasm that feels very reminiscent of Jane Austen. And it's kind of where I want my own writing to be. So I definitely want to look into more of her writing as well. Do you schedule your writing time or simply get to it whenever you can? And I am in the latter. I would love to have a concrete writing schedule, but that's just not feasible for me right now. I am not driving right now for medical reasons. And transportation being what it is, I usually get dropped off at the casino I work in pretty early. But it honestly kind of works out in my favor because it gives me a chunk of time where the only thing I can do is write. And I just hang out there and I write and then I go to work. You know, it definitely is hard to focus in the middle of a casino, especially as we're heading into spring break and summer. But, you know, it is what it is. And it does work. And sometimes you just have to write when you can. Do you type on a computer, typewriter, write everything out by hand, or use a blend of those? And where do you write in general? I actually prefer a handwritten draft. And that's kind of always been the case. I do still type a lot of it, mainly if I'm working on something for my blog. That is predominantly going to be a typed up thing. But for fiction, I do lean more toward a handwritten draft. And then along with that, I also have an AlphaSmart Neo 2, and that is the perfect device for me. It has the distraction-free nature of a handwritten draft, and it's easy to take on the go, but it also has the efficiency of a digital draft. And then as far as where I write, I have a lot of weird and unconventional places in the casino I work in. And then when I'm home, I'm either up here in my bedroom or downstairs in the living room, depending on the day. What are you most looking forward to now that you are a part of AuthorTube? And for me, if I had to pick one thing, that would be the community element of it. Because writing is such an isolating thing, even if you don't mean for it to be that way. So I'm really looking forward to having this corner of the internet where we can just hang out and chat about writing, but I'm also looking forward to having a little time capsule for myself. One of the things I've really come to appreciate about having a blog is that I have this archive of my writing and how things have grown over time and what I've been working on at different points in my life. And then the other thing I think for me will be the motivation of it and the accountability. I feel like 2025 was a year of taking one step forward and then 3 steps back. There was a lot of soft writing and things happening in the background, but not a lot of concrete progress. I really like the idea of having this channel as an accountability partner. And that is a wrap on the AuthorTube Newbie Tag. Feel free to answer any or all of these questions in the comments and introduce yourselves. And I guess on that note, I'll do that thing where I tell you to like and subscribe and do all those things. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.